Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to come and talk to you today about something I'm really very passionate about. So I'm going to tell you about New Zealand's freshwater fish, fauna and how they're faring. So we have 77 freshwater fish species. 54 of these species are native. Unfortunately, one species is extinct, the New Zealand grayling. And interestingly and ironically, this is the only New Zealand freshwater fish that has any legal protection. So of the 54 native species, they span 9 families, with the most diverse being the galaxids. So up in the top diagram here, we just got one example of diadromy, where the adult fish live in freshwater, they lay their eggs freshwater, the larvae get swept out to sea, and the juveniles rear in the marine environment for about 4 to 6 months, and then they swim back upriver. So New Zealand has over 50% of our freshwater fish are diadromous, and so the most iconic of these species are the whitebait species and the eel species. We also have non-migratory fish species that complete their life cycle completely within freshwater, and some of these non-migratory species, such as this pencil galaxid pictured here, they burrow into the gravels in response to droughts to ensure that they stay moist. We also have mudfish, which undertake a form of aestivation. It's not a true aestivation, but they wriggle or make their way into moist areas and slow their metabolism down until the water levels return, and then they generally spawn. So as well as these really neat fish, we've got a fish, the lamprey, that's parasitic in the marine environment. So the juveniles latch onto marine fish, and then when they're adults, they swim back up New Zealand rivers. So this video clip here shows some climbing galaxids. So it's the young of the Koaro, and so this footage is filmed by Bruno David from Waikato Regional Council. He's been looking at ways of getting climbing galaxids past man-made barriers, and this is one really good way. So these guys, as well as some other climbing galaxids, use their pectoral and pelvic fins, as well as the surface tension of the water, to wriggle their way up waterfalls in the natural environment to get to their adult habitat. So pretty cool little guys, these ones. So the whitebait season opens on Saturday, and I think most of, or all of you, would have seen them in this form. It kind of breaks my heart seeing them in that fritter. So to the untrained eye, when these guys are small, in their juvenile form, they all look the same, but they've got subtle differences in their fin placements and jaw placements, and they're actually 5 species. So here in the main photograph, we've got a Koaro, and then up the top we've got a banded cockapoo, then a short-jaw cockapoo, a giant cockapoo, and inanga. So inanga sort of get to around 8 to 10 centimetres, and the giant cockapoo can grow up to 60 centimetres. So all of these fish in our threat ranking system is either threatened or at risk, apart from the banded cockapoo. So we also have 3 species of eel. The one pictured here is the endemic longfin. I think Bill talked about it in his presentation. So these guys can live, the females, to over 100 years old, and they migrate out into the Pacific. So they only breed once, and then their juveniles only swim back to New Zealand waters. So pretty amazing life cycle. And I was just talking to my colleague Dave West before I came up, and he's done an analysis that shows that 20% of New Zealand rivers are impacted by dams, so impeding the upstream and downstream passage of eels. So next we've got, I just run through quickly, we've got 8 bully species. Some are migratory and some are non-migratory. The bluegill and redfin bully, pictured on the screen, live in fast-flowing water, as does the next fish here, the torrent fish. It lives in swift rapids, and it's got a flattened head and large pectoral fins to anchor itself to the riverbed. And this guy here is related to our blue cod. So now I'll move on to the non-migratory galaxids. So this group of species is our most diverse, but also our most threatened. And in the last 15 years or so, the number has increased from about 10 to 25, and this is due to the work of geneticists and taxonomists. The top two photos show Shannon Crowe from NIWA looking at trying to find morphological differences in the flathead galaxid. So unfortunately, of the 25 species we have, 17 are ranked as threatened and 4 more are at risk. And I'll talk a little bit more about these species and their threats soon. So we also have 5 mudfish species. These guys don't undertake a migration, and they live in a variety of habitats, including wetlands and remu forests, sphagnum swamp, on the floodplains of braided rivers and in small forest streams. So all in all, I think we've got a pretty cool and fascinating freshwater fish fauna. Unfortunately, 74% of our species are threatened or at risk, so that's 40 of the 54, and this has increased from 65% in 2009. So this map here shows the central Otago roundhead galaxid populations. So the red dots are the extinct population, so there's 12 local extinctions in the last 12 years. The black dots are galaxid only, and the green dots show populations where there's trout in their habitats. And this is a bit of a problem because the 12 extinctions were all caused by trout invasion. So the work that our DOC freshwater fish team does down south, they analysed their data, and it showed that there'd been a 27% loss in the past 12 years of 4 galaxid species, and these were all attributed to trout invasion. And so this next species, the lowland longjaw galaxid, it's nationally critical, so the same as the kakapo and the same as the Canterbury mudfish. This graph shows a decline in numbers, although their numbers do fluctuate naturally quite a bit. Water extraction and water abstraction, gravel and water abstraction have impacted on these species by increasing the timing, frequency and duration of drought, and so this also facilitates trout invasion into some of their really important habitats. So these guys spawn in springs, and so when there's a drought, the small trout come into the springs and of course predate on the larvae. So in our last threat ranking round in 2013, the main reasons we recorded for declines in all of the freshwater fish species were water abstraction for irrigation, land use intensification, dams and other barriers impeding the migratory access of fish, and introduced trout invading non-migratory galaxid habitat. So I guess the question I ask myself daily is, how do we stop a further 9% increase in threatened species in our next threat ranking round? So do we need to look at better protection of our species and ecosystems? Do we need to look at legal protection? Do we write management plans, keep on doing what we're doing, or raise awareness of what it means if these fish disappear and try and encourage the involvement of New Zealand? And I guess it's all of these things, and I look forward to hearing from other speakers at the conference talk about some potential solutions. Thank you.